federal government is saying we got to do more work, we're going to pay you less money. And so we are anticipating that just in these 2 areas, or 3 areas of SNAP here, for 2027, we're looking at literally a $22 to $23 million additional cost to the county for work that we're going to have to do, that we're required to do under the new bill that was passed. And at the same time, we're going to receive less benefits, because you see the 25% cut to SNAP administrative reimbursements, where we get money from the federal government to do the work that they're mandating that we do, and now they're saying we have to do it, but without the same amount of money. And then they're requiring us to do more. And the same goes for Medicaid and HEAP. This is the list of county contribution counties on Medicaid. And you'll see that it's, once again, it's a mix of what would be considered blue and red states, that some of them that require the counties to contribute, some that the counties do it anyway, and others that they don't. And we're really worried about what the impact is going to be on the Medicaid level from the federal government's cuts, but what the state's going to do, because the state's already taken some action to kick people off health care, is the best way to put it, so that they can help pay for this, but we think they're going to do more, just not certain. So the proposed budget summary has been really one of the most challenging budgets that we had in the last few years. I thank our colleagues in the legislature for understanding what we're dealing with and not going on a spending spree. Sometimes the legislators like to spend a lot more than what we proposed, but they didn't do that. And most of the increased cost of the budget is related to mandated costs, the new spending and the implementation of that. We were able to reduce the property tax levy, and it is at property tax rate to the lowest ever. And we're very concerned about 2027 and what's considered the big shift. So now I want to just briefly go into, actually probably more than briefly, but the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. I just wanted to highlight some of the investments that we've made. Erie County received $178.4 million in rescue plan from the President Biden's American Rescue Plan Act. Funds could be used for various purposes, including revenue replacement, which the city of Buffalo did, but as we'll note, we didn't do that. You had to obligate it, which means you had to have a plan and enter into contracts by the end of '24. We've done that. And we have to complete all the spending by the end of '26, and we're well on the way to do that. And this is kind of a breakdown based on the departments, and we'll go into this in a little greater detail. I just want to note that sewers, which we'll talk about, we were going to have to do this work anyway, and it would have costed the local ratepayers. They would have had to pay for it, but thankfully, because of the American Rescue Plan, we were able to do the work and not pass on the cost to the ratepayers. So the Department of Environment and Planning and our Commissioner Dan Castle's here. They're administering $129 million of the American Rescue Plan funds in the sewer districts, infrastructure, affordable housing, ErieNet. We'll talk all about each of those. Sewers, $64 million went in the sewers. We got a lot of slides here, but basically they did work all across the county. $18.8 million in collection system upgrades, $9.4 million in pumping station upgrades, $35.7 million at various treatment plants, including the big one at the South Towns Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility, $22.7 million, and that did all kinds of work. And there's other work that the county's doing there that we still have to do that wasn't paid for by the American Rescue Plan, but this certainly saved us a lot of money in the long run. And that's a picture of the plant. It's the one in Woodlawn, right next to Woodlawn Beach. And then the other things we did with regards to water, you'll see some of the things here, including the city of Tonawanda water line replacement. All these projects are done. General infrastructure that's administered by the Environment and Planning Department. Lots of other ones. The Isle View Park Enhancement Project, there's $1.2 million of a bigger project we'll talk about. Miracle League upgrade in Grand Island, work for Olmsted Parks, the Botanical Gardens expansion, which is going on right now. Affordable housing, we got a big housing problem in our community, like almost every other community in the United States. They all have housing problems. We are investing $13.5 million into new single-family starter homes, primarily in Buffalo and Cheektowaga, but we're looking to expand into the town of Tonawanda. And these are modular and stick-built homes, and these will all be up and running and built. Some of them are completed, and they're up for sale right now. And Buffalo and Cheektowaga, and we'll have the full complement of them completed by next year. And then there's an affordable housing larger apartment component where we're investing $6.5 million in various projects which are helping to develop more than 750 units across the community. ErieNet certainly is a big thing we've talked about. Construction is ongoing. We've had slowdowns as a result of having to deal with some of the utility companies, but we are moving ahead. It will be fully completed by the end of '26, and it is the middle mile network that people, businesses, other parties are starting to enter into contracts with us because they want to take advantage of our rates, which are cheaper than the general public can get. Construction is ongoing. This is where we started in Boston in 2026, or I should say in the spring of this year, and will be complete by the spring of '26. Parks, we did a lot of investment in parks with the American Rescue Plan funds, $13.1 million in total. Lots of park work done countywide. There's some big stuff that was done at Ellicott Creek Park, which we'll get into in a little bit. But this is a list of all of what was done using the American Rescue Plan funds. This is separate from the general funds that we invest in our parks. This is an example of the expanded capital program for the Shank House, the Went Mansion, the Ellicott Creek Park, Emery Park upgrades. But this is a picture, 3 pictures before and after of the Shank House at Grover Cleveland Golf Course. It is considered to be the oldest extant stone structure in the city of Buffalo, dating back to pre-Civil War. And it was an old building. There was a caretaker's house that was just basically abandoned, and we saved it. And it is now home to Parks Department's, basically a museum in which they highlight the history of the Parks Department and can be used as a meeting space right at Grover Cleveland Park. Then we did some big projects, expanded the parking lots over at Chestnut Ridge and Went Beach. They needed work, and we also had to make them ADA compliant, so we were able to do that. And then Public Works, we did a lot with Public Works, $25 million, of which Convention Center is the one that people know the most. The old Convention Center, look on the left, the one on the right. It's actually helped us get more conventions. Our biggest problem isn't the Convention Center right now, it's the hotels, and we don't have the Statler up, we don't have the old Adams Mark up. So we can't get some of the larger conventions we believe we could get just because we don't have the hotel space. And then we built a new highway barn in Lancaster. It's a brand new, beautiful facility, replaced an old, antiquated, and had to be closed facility in Clarence. We've got our Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, Bill Gary, he keeps on asking me for more highway barns, but as you can see, they're not inexpensive, $5 million, and the price on those goes up, but we did get that one done. Did lots of roads. We added $5 million into the countywide road program. But the American Rescue Plan overview, 100% of our funds were obligated before the deadline in '24. These are generational investments that were put across the entire county. We leveraged millions more by using this to do other types of projects, and it benefits every municipality. I do need to give a shout out to our former president and former congressman who supported this, as well as the members of the legislature and the Erie County Sewer District's Board of Managers who supported a lot of these investments because they are making huge investments. And then, talking about investments, I want to talk about some recent investments from the county and the town and city of Tonawanda. Of course, we referenced it already, Ellicott Creek Park. We put $1.5 million in there in the last couple of years. The casino renovation of almost $500,000, shelter renovations, restroom rehabs, the tennis pickleball court was resurfaced, now allowing for pickleball, exterior signage. And then Isleview Park, this is a big one that's almost complete, got a little more work that has to be done in early '26, but a $4.3 million investment on the Niagara River, including new overlooks, parking lot realignment, resurfacing, a new shelter with a gas fire pit, that's what you see on the far end over there, exterior signage, and a connection to River Road at the business park entrance that really didn't exist before. So we're almost done, brand new inclusive playground, all kinds of things. That's a big investment that's at Isleview Park. And we have a lot of people to thank. The county put money in, the Greenway Commission put money in, as we talked about, the American Rescue Plan put some money in, and it's an example of a generational investment in the community. Shoreline Trail's been repaved with upgrades of 7 miles of shoreline trail in the town and city of Tonawanda. It's not inexpensive to do bike trails. It's $1.5 million to do that, even though it's only 10, 15 feet wide. It's still expensive, but we did that. Municipal planning grants. The Erie County Department of Environment and Planning gives out planning grants. 25, they gave out a $100,000 comprehensive municipal planning grant to town of Tonawanda. 50,000 to Kenmore and 10,000 to the city to redo their ordinances. This is all part of the funding that we do that a lot of people don't realize we help our towns and villages and cities with. The Community Development Block Grant Program, we've made investments in the city of Tonawanda, including the Hillview Commons, the $300,000 for sidewalk replacements, and this is a program that most people don't understand we have. But we have a program where homeowners can actually go to us and get a very low to no interest loan, or a loan that basically we waive the repayment of all interest for a housing rehab. And 21 homeowners in the city of Tonawanda were able to take advantage of that to the tune of $534,000 total for roof, siding, windows, doors, heating. If you have any questions on any of that, you can see it online or talk to our Commissioner of Environment and Planning in the front afterwards. These are American Rescue Plan and Community Development Grant funded affordable projects. The Victoria Place, the $500,000 grant to support 37 units, affordable housing. The River Run Swiftwater grant for existing units and new units. That's a 26 project. But we put a lot of money in all of our communities, especially as it pertains to housing. And these are just a couple examples of it. The Erie County Storefront Revitalization Program, we invested $15 million in storefronts all across Erie County. And it's been a huge success. Hundreds of storefronts have taken advantage of it. In the town and city of Tonawanda, we had 24 locations in the first round, which is the kind of greenish color square. And then the second round is 9 locations, the kind of purplish round one. But if you saw a lot of work being done on the storefronts of these buildings, of these businesses, very good chance, well, on all of these, Erie County paid for some of it. Some of the owners put in more, but we actually would go up to $20,000, $40,000, excuse me, per unit, depending on how much that they were also putting in and what work was to be done. So helps beautify the community, strengthen small businesses, and when small businesses grow, we all grow because they create jobs, and slight benefit to Erie County, we generate sales tax. So we don't complain about that. Public Works, road projects, these are the road projects we've done since 2021 in the Tonawandas, including a very big one at the bottom, which was supposed to start this year but got delayed, which is Elmwood Avenue. That's an $8.5 million project. But the rest of these, you've all seen over the last few years: 2 Mile Creek, Emsinger Road, Nocky, Kenmore, Brighton, Sawyer. They've all had some substantial investments from the county in the last few years. And Elmwood's going to be the one that's a big one next year. People have been talking about it for years. We're getting it done, partially funded by the federal government. And I know as soon as we start this project, we'll get complaints about people complaining about the construction on Elmwood. We're like, take an alternative road because it's going to be ugly for a year. These are additional investments: $150,000 in the Village of Kenmore's Fire Hall, Town of Tonawanda, Kenny Field, $200,000 for the inclusive playground, $100,000 for the paramedic truck for the Town of Tonawanda, with our Deputy County Executive there, and $150,000 for the Mang Field Playground, $446,000 for the Boys and Girls Club of the North Towns, building upgrades, $132,000 for the Tonawanda American Little League. I bet you didn't know the county invested in all of this. $201,000 for the city of Tonawanda water sewer replacement, Tonawanda football clinic concession stand, $15,000 for their electric and plumbing improvements, window improvements, and we go on. $30,000 for Kenmore Volunteer Fire, $17,000 for the Town of Tonawanda pool liner replacement, urban initiative funding for the city of Tonawanda, which is a little different than the town, but there's $1.3 million there combined over 22, 23, 25 for sewer, as well as the swing bridge overlook and Kohler Pool splash pad. It's just a lot of money that we've invested from Erie County and the Tonawandas in the last few years. Here's a map of ErieNet in the city of Tonawanda and Tonawanda and Village of Kenmore. So you get an idea where the main lines will be running. And then the spurs will be put onto that afterwards by third-party providers. But we've already had a lot of signups from school districts, some businesses and others that are on that main line that want to hook into ErieNet because they know their internet cost will drop tremendously. We're not in it to make money. We're just in it to provide high-quality internet service across the whole county, which doesn't exist. It's less of an issue in the Tonawandas than it is in Sardinia and Springville, or for that matter, parts of the city of Buffalo, which do not have high-quality internet. So, but this is going to reduce price. We're already starting to get some of the third-party providers that want to go into neighborhoods. They're doing it in the city of Buffalo. We know they're going to want to do it elsewhere. So we fully expect that once you have competition, it's going to reduce the cost of your internet. Then the tree grant, final thing regarding our investments. We're working with a whole bunch of people, but we have Town of Tonawanda as a sub-awardee of the Erie County's USDA grant for trees across our community. So the town is seeing that, and the contract amount, at least for the town, is $151,000. So as you see more trees pop up in the town of Tonawanda, it's because the town is part of our grant system. Now let's talk about Medicaid recipients, because I want to talk about this with regards to the impact next year. Medicaid's a national program and administered by Erie County at the local level. Medicaid, of course, provides health care for people who can't afford it, but it does it through different ways. It's also the primary provider and payer for nursing care for seniors, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But it ranges from any kind of situation you can imagine as long as it's related to health care. And financial eligibility is determined based on the income and resource standards from the programs. Now, this is Medicaid in 2023, in which there were 342,001 residents of Erie County on Medicaid, the highest ever. The reason it was the highest ever is because there was a requirement during the COVID period through the end of 2023 that we could not do recertifications. We just had to keep everybody on Medicaid until the end of 2023. So we have 342,101 residents were enrolled, which is equal to 36% of the population. And then there's a breakdown based on zip codes, basically with blue being the lowest in each zip code, red being the highest number of participants in each zip code. And I want to show you that the numbers have changed. Since we've done the recertifications, this is for the end of 2024, the 342,001 residents has gone down to 253,923, which is kind of what was our average before COVID. So we're back to where we were. This is a big drop. It's a sizable drop of individuals. And once again, if you look at the map on the left and kind of do especially in Tonawanda, if you look up there, you'll see the percentage at the high. There was more people that were on Medicaid prior to the recertification in Tonawanda because the orange in one section is turned to yellow. And the same thing could be said for a lot of the areas. There's still sections that have a lot of Medicaid recipients, but every zip code in our region has less Medicaid recipients in 24 and 25 than they did in 23. And this is helpful because for the first time that we can ever remember, on a year-to-year basis, the cost of Medicaid in total for what is spent across all of Erie County through the whole program actually went down from the year. It was $2,997,000,000 spent in 23, and in 24 it was $2,991,000,000. That's for all the Medicaid programs, including federal share and so forth. There's a lot of money spent on Medicaid just in Erie County alone. But I want you to look at the bottom, because this is an average for 23, but it fits also for 24. The average cost for a Medicaid recipient who's birth to 18 is a little less than $4,000. It's a little less than $10,000 for 21 to 64-year-olds. It's over $18,000 on average for anybody who's a senior, because most of those individuals that are receiving Medicaid, remember, Medicare pays for their primary health care when they're a senior, most of that is going to nursing care. So even though it doesn't make up a huge proportion of the overall population, the older individuals, it makes up a significant amount of the Medicaid spend on an annual basis. And basically, Medicaid is a program that pays for health care for poor and uninsured individuals, nursing and end-of-life care for seniors. And the vast majority of Medicaid dollars are spent for older adults requiring hospital, nursing, hospice, and end-of-life care. And the only way to cut Medicaid substantially is to cut care for infirmed individuals or general hospital care for older adults. It's really the only way to do it. Recent federal action impacting Erie County. The Trump administration refused to fund our Department of Aging RSVP program over what they considered DEI. The reason they said they weren't going to fund us is because the grant application stated that the grant funded the placement of hundreds of volunteers in a diverse group of agencies countywide. That's all it was. We're saying we're putting it in a diverse group of agencies, Meals on Wheels, nursing homes, hospitals. They weren't going to fund us it. So we sued, and we won. They actually pulled back. They decided to fund us because it was really kind of silly. Their argument was, well, we don't want to support DEI. Fine, but that's not what we do. We actually work with a diverse group of individuals, and if that's a problem, then we got a problem with every one of our programs, because we do every one of our programs as a diverse group of individuals or organizations or things that we involve ourselves in. Substantial cuts were done to the New York State-wide Public Health Corps. There was $100 million that was lost from New York City, $300 million total from New York State, approximately $8 million from Erie County, and so we had to lay off people. The cuts in the programs that you see there, including emergency preparedness and addiction services and harm reduction. I mean, at the same time we're talking about dealing with the opiate epidemic, we received funding from the federal government through the public health corps to address it, and we lost it, so we had to cut it. It's just how it goes. This is the one that I thought was silly. They eliminated all funding, $1 billion for funding to purchase food for food banks, schools, and child care centers, and canceled another $500 million from the Emergency Food Assistance Program, TFAP, of which Feedmore lost $3.5 million. And what happened when we had the shutdown and the SNAP issue, the county ended up making a $1 million donation, in addition to what we normally provide, to Feedmore to help them get through that period, because their stocks were low and they've lost money. They've lost $3.5 million this year alone. Then Medicaid, it's projected that 450,000 New Yorkers will lose their Medicaid. Another 2 million are being moved from one plan to another, so they at least have basic health care in Medicaid. We don't know the true extent yet. It's over a 10-year period, $880 billion is going to be cut from the federal government. And we're just waiting to see what New York State does, but right now, we're hopeful that they don't pass on costs to the county, because if they do, it will have a really bad impact financially. But we know as of now, 450,000 New Yorkers have lost their health care because of the changes to the Medicaid programs. And then social service cuts, impact service deliveries. You used to be able to call the social security offices. Now you either have to do it online or in person, which may not be a big problem depending on your ability, but for a lot of seniors, they don't have the ability to do an application or request online, and they don't have an ability to get in their vehicle and drive to a Social Security center. It's a problem. And so we're hearing that. We're getting calls, especially in our Department of Aging, of seniors who need help and could use assistance, where they could have called the Social Security office before, but it was completely, the phone center was basically eliminated. So that's an issue. I think we did that okay, not too bad, in a little about 40 minutes, but I really appreciate everyone coming. We've been doing these town hall meetings. This is the first one, as I said, post-budget, because I really wanted to talk about what's happening with our budget in the county so people understand. They often hear of the big number, they hear of tax levies, tax rates, but they don't often understand exactly where all the dollars and cents go. So I really appreciate everyone coming and hearing that. David from our team knows the list and is going to call up the individuals, and everybody has 1 minute to ask a question, ask a comment. We're going to try to avoid a back and forth. If I can answer a question briefly, I will. If not, we'll try to give you the information at a little date, and once your minute is up, David will hit the timer there, just so everyone can get an opportunity to say anything. So, David?
All right, good evening, everybody. So we're going to move on to the question and answer portion here. Just some ground rules for the remainder of our time with the county executive here. We're going to ask you to come up one at a time. At this moment, I believe we only have one individual, but you're going to have a minute to speak. We're going to avoid, as the county executive said, any kind of back and forth. So please take the minute that you are allotted to make whatever questions, comments, remarks directed to the county executive, and then we will respond from there. So we're going to start with Todd. I know.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming, Todd.
And happy holidays to you and Lindsay. I'm glad to see you're doing well after your health scare.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Bell's palsy is
I
better.
have a question in regards to your threat to be doing John R. Macy's term bill. So a little bit off topic here, so
Sure.
I hope you don't mind. John's bill would have placed on the ballot a referendum for voters to decide if all elected county offices would be subjected to term limits, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this term limits bill push started here at Tonawanda when he was on the board.
Mm-hmm.
We had Mr. Amateur in support of it, your own deputy county executive that was in favor of it. And it has bipartisan support among the general public. So my question is, why the threat, why it failed in the legislature, as you know, but my understanding is that legislators were, at least on the Democratic side, kind of strong-armed into voting no by your office. So my question is, if it has overwhelming support in the general public, why not just put it out there on the ballot and see what happens? Thank you.
Thanks, Todd, for your question. I appreciate it. Number one, I personally am not in favor of term limits. I've said this from day one. I've never backed down from that. We have term limits, which are called elections. And people have an opportunity to actually vote out any individual that they want. And it worked. In 2011, I ran for county executive against an individual who won by 28 points 4 years before, and everyone thought couldn't be beat. I beat him. We had term limits. He was shown the door, so to speak, by the people of Erie County. The legislature, it was bipartisan support to actually defeat the measure. Mr. Barnese knew he didn't have the support. He kept on pushing it. He wanted a vote because he thought he could force people to do something that they were against. And in the end, the legislators, both Democrats and Republicans, voted against the measure because they don't support the term limit measure. We've seen all kinds of actions that have occurred across our community. We saw the downsizings, and there was call for downsizings, and the downsizings basically were a disaster. You had 3 people that became the town boards, and 2 people couldn't even talk to each other anymore before a meeting because they would have violated open meetings laws. And a lot of those towns went back to 5 or 7 person boards. Just my personal belief that we don't need term limits in our democracy. Democracies are strong when you have individuals running for office. Just because you change somebody over doesn't mean you're going to have good government. We've seen that in other areas too, where we brought in people and government has failed because you have not had the right people in office who are doing a good job. And I'm not talking about Democrat or Republican, I'm just talking about individuals who probably weren't qualified to do it, ran for office, and then failed. So it's my personal belief that I'm not an advocate for term limits. And when it comes to term limits itself, there is the ultimate arbiter of every election, and that's the people. And if they like the government that they have, they will vote for it. If they don't, like we saw in 2011, they will go to something different. And that's just my personal belief. And in the end, the legislature never even came to my desk because the legislature pretty much overwhelmingly voted for it. I think Mr. Barnese thought he would get some votes in which it would come to my desk and I'd veto it. And I said, that's what's going to happen. And in the end, he didn't even have enough votes to pass it. And that's what we had been talking with, and we were talking with legislators, and most of them were like, I'm not in favor of term limits. There were only a few that voted for him. He did have his opportunity, and maybe things will change over a few years, but I don't think it really matters who the county executive is, because the legislature right now is not in favor of term limits. Okay. That was the only individual who signed up for a question, so Todd, if you, Joe, if you, uh-oh. He didn't sign up. Security, sheriffs, come on, tackle this guy.
I don't have a
Okay.
I do have a comment, and I'll be brief. Okay, I just want everyone to know who's here, how grateful we are to the town of Tonawanda government for the collaboration that takes place between the town and county workers. I mean, I don't think the public realizes how much we interact with each other, and it really is for the benefit of everybody, for the benefit of the county, for the benefit of the town of Tonawanda. That has been going on for years and years, as long as Lisa and I, going back to our town days, have been involved. And I'm just very grateful for the support that the county gives the town, and we are always looking forward to doing more with the county. So that's an introduction. I just want to say thank you. And I will say this, and I've said this in private many times, but I don't think I've ever said it to your face, county executive. Okay, the county residents are very fortunate to have you at the helm of the county government. You have done, in my opinion, an outstanding job as a steward of the county resources and not only and of the county health. Okay, during COVID and everything else that went along with it. And I will, to my dying day, we don't agree on everything.
That's true.
Terminals being one of them. But I will, to my dying day, I always tell people that you do an outstanding job for the county residents and the town of Tonawanda residents. I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Eminger. I appreciate that, and you are correct. We have a very good relationship between the county and town officials, the county and town teams. When it comes to snowstorms, the county team is working with the town highway department. When it comes to emergencies, we've been together on Zoom calls and phone calls. And when it just comes to economic development and issues like that, such as what was dealt with regards to the recent closure over with the tire plant, how we worked together to ensure that that building would not be vacant for long, but also that some of the other issues were dealt with regards to the employees and making sure that certain they had jobs. The only way you can get anything really accomplished in government is through compromise. I've talked about it before, and unfortunately sometimes it seems to get lost on the national level. But you never get everything you want. I learned that in government. You never get everything you want. There's things that I wanted and tried to move along that I couldn't get because the legislature rejected. Today they rejected 2 solar panel plants and things that we wanted to do, and that happens. It's what happens. But when you work together, you're able to accomplish more. So the town of Tonawanda has been a great partner in that, and I want to thank you for your leadership. And we will continue that as long as I'm still county executive, which is 2 more years. And people have said, they're like, oh, you're going to run again. I'm not running again. This is my 4th term. I have announced this is it. The campaign for county executive will be in earnest in 2027. I will not be a candidate. I had not intended on running for a 4th term when I won my 3rd term, which was 2019. But as soon as I took office, put my hand on the Bible, raised and said my pledge to the people. Within a few months, we were shut down with COVID. Then we got through COVID, and it was early 2022. Things were looking up, and then we had the mass shooting at the Top supermarket, basically a mile from my house. And then finally, we get through some of the healthcare and mental health and other issues with that, and then we had the blizzard. And at that point, I said, well, you know what? There's so many things I wanted to accomplish this 3rd term that we didn't get done, like the football stadium, like some of the stuff with ErieNet and our Live Well Erie plan that I'm running for 1 more term. So you'll have me for a couple more years. Hopefully there'll be two good years, certainly not like it was in 20 and 22. But I just appreciate the public support. I thank you for all being here today. And as always, if you ever want to reach out to my office, you can call us at 716-858-8500 or send us an email at county.executive@erie.gov, and we will get back with you. So thanks everyone for coming, and have a great night, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year to all, and let's have a great 2026, hopefully with the Bills in the Super Bowl. Thanks everyone.